Okay, welcome to today's live stream. Today is January 9th, 2025, and I'm going to be continuing my work on this figure. Also wanted to, so we're here on YouTube, but I also wanted to try to see if I could stream on Instagram as well. So we'll see if we can get both of those going, and that way got more chance for comments and things. Let's see. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll try to keep my eye on the comments, and we will just continue building out this sculpture. Let's see. Let me try to get something where I can see. And then if you're watching on Instagram, you can also ask questions, but try to do it using the little question button so that it saves the question. Otherwise, it just kind of scrolls past and questions get lost. Let's see. I'm just going to grab some clay that I've warmed up just a little bit, and let's see, and I'll just get to sculpting. So I think now, well, let's see. Somebody on YouTube says your microphone is cutting out, unless it's just me. Let's see. It might be that this is getting in the way. I have the laptop, and I'm just using the audio from the laptop. I tried to figure out how to do the audio from the microphone because it's better audio, but I still haven't been able to figure that out. So still having some technical issues with that. Hopefully I'll be able to figure that. I need to devote some time to updating the setup that I'm using for these live streams to make sure that the audio and everything is a little bit better quality, but for now this will just have to do. And so I think I can go ahead and just continue with what I was doing before, building out the forms and start to kind of invent information, because we only have this single photo reference that I'm working from. So basically all of the sculpture will have to be invented. Let's go ahead and cover up the wire armature that we have here on the feet. I like to start with aluminum wire armature. And the clay I'm using is Chavant NSP clay, medium firmness, and it's great for reusing and mold making. It's not a clay for firing in a kiln, but it does work for these types of maquettes or sculpture designs. That's what I like it for. And for practice, it's great. Let's see, is the audio still cutting in and out on YouTube? Can't tell. But whether it is or whether it isn't, we'll have to just deal with it. as I'm laying in this clay, I just want to make sure that the gesture of the leg is following the typical gesture, that I'm not messing up where the leg should be moving, how it should be moving through space from the front and from the side. Let's see, I put this calf muscle down a little bit. Trying to just get a rough shape, but keeping things thin at this point. Feeling tired today. I don't know why. Just mentally drained. That's the thing about these live streams, is it can be a little bit draining. Though I think I just have to get used to the swing of it, and or the schedule of it. And I also changed my sleep schedule, trying to wake up a little bit earlier, so that's probably also what I'm dealing with. It's a new year. We're trying to get those New Year's resolutions in before we abandon them in February. So he says, I think it's easier if you turn the model 180 degrees to work on the anatomy while streaming and not upside down, maybe. Sorry for my poor English. Yeah, maybe. But right now I'm trying to observe the reference and compare the reference to the model, and the reference is upside down, so that's why I'm doing that. But at some point I'll be moving legs around. As I'm laying in, you can see where I've laid in this line of clay, where I'm going for the silhouette from this view. And I want to, actually, maybe I want to push that in even a little bit more. But I want to think about, like, where is that high point going to be from this side? And with the glutes, it's actually closer towards the center than it is towards the outside. And then I try to lay that clay along where the high point would be on this side, that silhouette that I'm seeing. Because the silhouette isn't always, if you do it right in the middle, you know, right in the middle of here is where the crease is for the bum. So if I did that, then that wouldn't make sense. But you want to kind of be thinking about, like, where's the high point? And then this glute will be stretched quite a bit more because of how the legs bent. So I'm trying to think about these things as I'm laying in pieces of clay. I'm always in a hurry, here to learn patience from you. Well, yeah, I'm probably not the best person to teach patience. I'm also often in a hurry. I'm in a hurry to get things done, and I rush till life's no fun. All I really gotta do is live and die, but I'm in a hurry and don't know why. Wow. There's a version of that song that's like a cappella by somebody. Anyway, we used to listen to that all the time when I was little. Can't be late. There's nothing to prove. It's not new. But it'll do 0 to 60 in 5.2. Okay, so just trying to get a rough idea of what's going on in the masses before I add the details. Oh, there's the family. Hey, can you close the door, please? I'm doing a video, so can you close the door, please, Rachel? Thank you. Hey. Nice. How long have you been working with clay? Somebody's asking. I've been sculpting for about, I guess, 8 years or so. More seriously into sculpting for the last 8 years. Hello, the stream is so dope. I'm an artist myself, and anatomy is super hard, so doing it with clay must be wild. Also, the algorithm brought me here to keep up the good work. Well, thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm trying to be more consistent with these live streams. And do them daily, so every weekday I'll try to do a live stream, one for drawing, because that was one of my New Year's resolutions, was to get better at drawing, and one for sculpting, so one a day. And then my hope is that with some of the live streams, I'll also be recording them, and then I can cut those into shorter, more condensed videos, more edited videos after, and that way I can just produce more content in general. So yeah, that's the plan. And if you're interested in learning how to sculpt, be sure to check out my sculpting courses that you can find in the link in the description of the YouTube video, or if you're on Instagram, you can find that in my bio. There's a link tree that has all my links. My ebooks as well are a great resource for just figurative art in general. But my sculpting courses are, that's the main focus, my main focus, and where I think a lot of people could benefit from if you're interested in learning figurative sculpture using traditional clay. Everybody's digital sculpting now, but I'm still holding to the old ways of traditional clay. There's something about working with your hands that's a little bit superior, in my opinion. Not that there's anything wrong with digital. Digital's fun as well. Tony's saying, 8 years in, did you ever think of quitting sculpting? Because many times I get frustrated. How do you control the emotions and focus? Please advise. Have I ever considered quitting? Yeah, all the time, because it's hard to make doing anything creative. It's hard to make a good living. So it's been, and I have not been immune from that. So artists, it's hard to monetize creativity, anything creative in general. So I've definitely considered, am I even doing the right thing? Shouldn't I be, maybe I should do something that's more practical, more reasonable, something that is easier to monetize. And, maybe I should. That's still an open question. So I've definitely considered it, but maybe I'm just stubborn that I haven't given up or I don't know. But somebody was saying, just the fact that you're still doing art after graduating, years after graduation, means that you've succeeded, because most people, they get an art degree and then they go and they do something completely unrelated because it is difficult to monetize. So, and that's not something I don't lie to students about that. That's, if you're going into sculpting, if you're learning this skill of sculpting, then it's a difficult thing to monetize. So just be aware of that. And that doesn't mean that it's impossible. And I'd say it's easier to monetize sculpting now in the age of the internet and worldwide commerce. You can find an audience. It's easier to sell your sculptures now than it ever has been, because we have more resources at our fingertips. But that doesn't mean it's easy. There's a lot of other things that you could sell or that you could be doing that would be easier to monetize. So don't be under the illusion that sculpting is easy. The technique side is not easy. It's not easy, learning anatomy and all of that. Right now, I'm thinking about the anatomy of the chest, the pectoralis major, how that transitions up into the shoulders. So there's a lot with anatomy. There's a lot to learn. There's also a lot to learn from the sales side of things, marketing. And that's why, after graduation, everybody was going towards, a lot of people just go into teaching. I could have done that. I like teaching. I mean traditional teaching, like in a college or in a high school or something, like an art teacher. A lot of people that are in the arts at all are doing that, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't like how art education was structured in those places. So I tried to do my own thing online, and I'm still trying to make it work. I still have to plug my stuff because I'm not rolling in money or anything like that, but I'm doing my best to provide for my family and help people learn about something that I've found valuable and that I'm passionate about. And I'd say that that's, a lot of people don't get that. So I'm very fortunate in that way. But if I was more financially, if it was a more financially lucrative career, then I'd probably still be in Utah with close to family. In Utah is a nice area, but we had to move to Iowa because we wanted a house and it's cheaper over here, so we made sacrifices. So there's a push and pull, and there's sacrifices to be made, whatever you're going to do. So just be aware of that. How many hours do you spend spend each day on sculpting? Well, it depends on what I'm working on. So if I have a commission or something, then I'll devote more time to it. But right now, these live sculpting sessions are like my main sculpting time of the day. So it's really just like, an hour a day, half an hour to an hour a day of sculpting. At least that's what it's been for this little bit, because I kind of got out of the habit because I was working so much on, I'm remodeling a barn on the property to be a sculpture studio. So a lot of my time and attention has gone towards that. But I didn't want to, get rusty with the skills that I've worked so hard in developing. So this is me trying to keep up with those and continue to build those skills of drawing and sculpting. So right now, that's currently it. I'm just sculpting like an hour a day during these live streams, but that might change. I have possibly some commissions coming up, so if that happens, then I'll be, I don't know, maybe I'll do those during live streams too, but I might do it different, so we'll have to see. But it doesn't take, if you're consistent, if you're doing it every day, it doesn't take a crazy amount of time. Most of us, if you're on Instagram or on YouTube, and most of us spend a couple hours on social media at least. So if you're willing to spend just a little bit less time on that, or while you're on Instagram or on YouTube, you're doing something creative, you have some clay that you're working with, making your own sculptures. And if you just do that regularly, you can improve pretty fast. You can get better pretty fast. Especially if you purchase my online courses and join them, my premium courses, and then do those assignments. Even if you don't, even if you just, there's also, I have a PDF. So if you're interested in sculpting, but you don't want to purchase like a full online course, you don't have the financial ability to do that right now, then you can get the free PDF, and that has links to all of the free video lessons. And it's an assignment checklist, so you just go through, watch the free video, do the assignment, check it off, go to the next one, and it's a great resource as a way to learn and like have some specific things to work on daily. If you struggle with coming up with ideas, which I know some people do, that's not everybody's struggle, but let me see. I'm going through Instagram and seeing if I missed any questions. If I did, just let me know. Doesn't look like I missed anything, so how do you balance personal life, sculpting, gym, and social life? Well, a lot of it's just having a schedule. So right now, I was mentioning that I'm trying to change my schedule, wake up a little bit earlier. So as of right now, I try to wake up at 5:30, and then I do like personal prayer and scripture study from the Bible, the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, those scriptures that are part of my religious observance. And then I'll go to the gym and exercise, and that's usually about an hour. And then I come back and either do a live stream in the morning or just like have breakfast. We have breakfast as a family. And then I'll do the live streams. So one for drawing, because I want to get better at that, and one for sculpting. And then after that, after I get those things out of the way, I try to do something to improve the home, because we live in kind of a fixer-upper home. So whether that's plastering or adding some new outlets or whatever it is, something to improve the home. And then also something to improve the sculpture studio that I'm trying to turn into the barn into a sculpture studio. So that's kind of how I break down the day, and I just try to give blocks of time for each of those things that I'm working on. Also video editing, so you know, some days I'll need to spend more time video editing. And then I just have like a list of what I want to accomplish for the day or for the week, the videos that I want to create, and um, I'll try to do like one more edited video on my personal YouTube channel, and I also want to do more sculpting content for the Proco 3D channel. So I need to get into a habit of making content for that as well. But that's part of these live streams, is that I can use hopefully some of this footage for that, for the more edited content. Let's see, ran out of clay. Let's grab some more. So balance is really like, you know, figuring out what your priorities are. What would you like to do if you could have the ideal day? Like if you could design your day so that it was exactly how you wanted it to be, what would that look like? For me, you know, I get a lot of that. So all the meals, you know, I get to have all the meals with my family. I work from home, so I get to be around the kids, and that's important to me. I like exercising and staying fit, and I'm able to do that every day with the local gym that's here in town. And I'm working on improving myself and improving my home, and making a new studio. And so I'm able to do all of these things that are exciting and interesting, and it, you know, having a rigid schedule, it doesn't have to be too rigid, but it can get monotonous. So maybe switching it up every once in a while is good. But I think if you can just have a good schedule that you're able to keep, where you prioritize those things that are important to you, if you can do that, then you're doing pretty good. I know a lot of people, like maybe you work, you know, you have a full-time job, you're working outside of the house and doing other things, and so you have to figure out, like with your free time, how do you want that to be spent? And for me, you know, a big thing is like cutting down. I'm sure most people are in the same boat. I want to cut down on social media. You know, you start scrolling and then hours pass, and it's like, where did that time go? And that's you know, not wasting time is a big part of just being productive. It's hard though, or it can be hard to not waste time. Let's see. Eventually I'll need to secure this somehow so that it's not, that it doesn't keep moving around too much. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure that the gesture of the leg looks good from the back. And this you know, understanding the gestures, the primary gestures of the leg from the front view, from the back view, that's really helpful when you're getting into anatomy and kind of trying to invent things like I'm doing. Like, I only have one reference, so I'm inventing almost everything. So I have to know, like, what does the average leg look like from the back, from the front view. And a helpful resource is my ebook, An Artist's X-Ray Vision. There's one on the male figure and one on the female figure. You can find links to those in the description. And what it goes over is just helpful visuals to help you remember, like those averages, like what the gestures to look for from the side view, from the front view, from the back, and those can be really helpful when you're inventing poses. So I encourage you to look into that if you're interested in getting better at that. And it's a tricky skill. inventing, being able to invent, because we're complicated. People are complicated. So he says, I'm an artist and have 2 kids. It's hard to work at home. Well, that is definitely, it can be the case. Yeah, that is hard. So you have to figure something out. So you have to like set a time, right now is art time. And it's hard, especially when the kids are little, the age of my kids, we have a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old. So, it can be hard, but if you're consistent and if you say, you know what, right now is art time, and so and that's all they have to do. And if they get into a schedule, that schedule can be established fairly early. Maybe not when they're 1 or 2, but they can kids can do things with you more than people realize. A lot of the time people think, oh, I have kids, so I can't do this while my kids are around. But you just, if you're able to teach them how to engage with that time and how to have their own projects going, and then they can see what you're doing and kind of copy it and work on their own things, and you really can. So I'd say don't let kids be an excuse for not following through, because that's something that my grandma did. Talk about her sometimes, that she allowed her kids to be the reason that she didn't pursue art. And when her kids grew up and moved out of the house, then she found other reasons. So it wasn't the kids, it was just that she didn't prioritize it. She didn't make that time essential in her schedule, and she regrets it. She regretted not pursuing art more. She wishes that she would have done that. But even now, she comes up with she's 95 and still says, oh, I wish I could get back into art. So there's always going to be something. But if it's a priority, then you just have to figure out how to work around those somethings. But it's definitely understandable. Art's difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. But if you realize that it's not easy, then you set yourself up to take on a challenge, to take on something difficult. And then you don't get as frustrated when things don't go your way, instantly. You're able to deal with that time and effort that's required. Is art a beautiful or difficult journey? Please share your personal experience. Beautiful or difficult? Well, I'd say that those aren't contradictory. Something can, in fact, usually the most beautiful things are difficult. Just for example, exercise. Exercising regularly is difficult, especially if you're exercising in a way that's productive, which means that you're pushing yourself to your limit, and you're forcing yourself to grow, and you're forcing yourself to go right up to where you can't do anymore. That's where you see the most growth with exercise, with your physical muscles. But that makes you, that work, that effort, that difficulty makes you more beautiful. Like it changes you and makes you more attractive, because that work shows through in and your physique. And the same thing is true of art. You know, it's hard, it's difficult. It's difficult, but that's part of what makes it beautiful is that, you know, we recognize, oh wow, there was a lot that went into becoming proficient, becoming a master at this or that craft. And if you do things that are meaningful and sculpt things that you're interested in, or draw or paint or whatever your creative outlet is, if you spend time doing those things that you find worthwhile, then the difficulty is worth it. It's worth the pain. Vale la pena, as we would say in Spanish. It's worth the pain. What is your inspiration? Well, I'm inspired by this is a photograph. Currently, this is I believe it's by John Barrett. That's who shared it. So a photographer that took a picture of a gymnast at or maybe might be a an acrobat. It might be. I don't remember exactly, but so this photo, I was like, oh, that's a very interesting pose. I like acrobats, gymnasts, ballerinas. Those I find very inspirational. Um, you know, bodybuilders for the male physique, bodybuilders or male gymnasts, and others. I think are very inspirational, and then just other artists. I try to follow artists, especially on Instagram, that are that make me think, oh wow, I wish I could do something like that. Like I would be happy if I was able to produce something that looked like that. So if your feed isn't full of people that are just a little bit better than you, then I think you should follow some people that inspire you, meaning that they make you want to push yourself a little bit further than where you're at. What are some career essentials for a student aiming to become a sculptor? Learn about business and marketing. Learn about, if you're becoming an artist, then you are your business. You are the business. You're the salesperson. You're the marketer. You're the brand. So learn about those things. Don't be shy. I'd also say take social media seriously, because whatever you do, it's helpful to have a presence on social media, and kind of people just expect that now. So create things on social media, beautiful works of art and things that you can be proud of as part of your portfolio, and share those things. And so those are the things that come to mind right now. Now my kids are 6 and 9, and things seem to be going better. I opened my studio 10 years ago in Como, Italy. Oh, well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. If you can have a studio space, a space to work is very valuable. So that's why I'm trying to turn the barn on the property into a proper studio, because having a space that it's just for creativity is really helpful. It's really helpful to have a space dedicated to being creative, an environment where that's just what you do. Same thing with going to the gym. That's one of the reasons that I hesitate to invest in trying to make a home gym, though I might do that eventually. But even with a home gym, you want to have a space for it. So usually it's a garage or something like that. but it's not, it's not the living room where the TV is, because there's so many distractions. And if you have a place where you can limit distractions and just have a place to focus on what you're doing, then that's really, that's going to be really valuable. So yeah, I would say that that's something to think about, having your own studio space. So I'm taking little pieces of clay, taking those and then trying to lay them along the direction of the muscles that I know are there, and I can remember where the muscles are, and then just kind of spread it out. And I can clean things up later, but for now I'm just like looking at the silhouette or outline from each angle and trying to make that silhouette more attractive, better looking. Will you start your sculpture school once you complete your workshop? Yeah, that's the plan. In fact, I need to start selling basically spots for some workshops that I have coming up. So I'll be doing some workshops in the summer. So if you're interested, be sure to message me. You can message me on Instagram or send me an email or something. Just say, hey, I'd be interested in knowing more about your workshops, and just keep an eye on my social medias, and because I do want to do some in-person workshops for sculpture. So if you're interested in that, if you'd like to come and sculpt with me directly and that in my own studio space and everything, then just watch out for that. It should be coming up this year. 2025 is a great year to start. It's a great year to start just because of the number 2025. So yeah, that is something that that's partly why I'm doing the studio space, a place to work, and then also a place to have some in-person workshops. So I will be devoting more time towards that in the coming months. So watch out for that. And you can follow, let's see, I'm trying to move over to Gumroad from Patreon. A lot of my stuff was on Patreon, and I had some other things in different locations. So if you're interested in supporting and helping out the page, then I'll have some subscriptions and a private Facebook page for people that want to support and want a little bit of extra community. So those are some things to be aware of and keep an eye out for as I'm working on those. He says, hello everyone. Wow, Andrew, that's very dynamic, wonderful energy. Much respect. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a comment from YouTube. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, this was a great pose. So I found this pose. I tried to save poses, inspiration. Somebody was asking about inspiration. I try to save inspirational poses on Instagram and just have a pose library, something to work from for practicing drawing as well as sculpting. And so that's another thing that I'd recommend people do. Don't just be mindlessly scrolling, be collecting things that will inspire you in the future. And that way you have a collection of references to draw from. So he says it's so rare to see that, talking about the energy and dynamic movement of the sculpture. Yes, pictures are so important, right? Somebody says this only has my like, it's free. Oh yeah, like if you're liking the video, then you can hit like on YouTube. And I don't know, is there something similar on Instagram? I don't remember. But yeah, like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do these live streams every weekday. I'm trying to do that as my New Year's resolution. So if I've stopped, then you gotta get after me and be like, hey, what happened to live streams? You said you were gonna do it every day. What's happening? Somebody says, beautiful. Thank you. Appreciate it. Somebody says, I really like the bodybuilder you sculpted a few days ago. Oh yeah, that's there in the background. That was awesome. Yeah, this was fun. This was the bodybuilder guy, and I might be taking that design and doing it larger, a larger sculpture in that style. I wanted to do a sculpture of either Samson from the Bible, or maybe Hercules. And so maybe adding a shield and a sword, like a sword for the arm that's behind him, and then a shield, and doing a larger scale sculpture of that I thought would be cool. So we'll have to see if that turns into something, or I might do something different. So I'm not committing to anything, but it does help to have these maquettes, these designs, because then you have something to draw from. You have something a resource that you can tap when you have a project, something that you've already thought about and worked through some of the details on. There's my like, somebody says. Good evening, Andrew from the UK. Oh, well, good evening. It's, I guess it's afternoon here. 1 o'clock where I'm at, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Just getting close to when we usually have lunch, so I'll probably do lunch pretty soon. What are we at? 47? So yeah, we'll do about another 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Hour-long session. And then it'll be today's session. Face, I'm just trying to do a simple head shape, not getting into any of the details yet. Trying to keep it thin towards the front plane of the face. I like to do this kind of wedge shape or axe shape, very thin at the front, and then it gets wider towards the back. The widest point of the head is towards the back, so that way we have something to build the facial features on top of once we get to that stage. Any advice in increasing speed and efficiency when sculpting? Yeah, do these like gesture studies. Use soft clay, and then just do like an hour, or half an hour, and working smaller will be faster. So like this bodybuilder guy, that was really small sculpture, but I was able to do it pretty fast because of the scale and working with a soft clay. So soft clay, set a time, and then just keep moving. Take less breaks in between each piece of clay that you're putting in, and you'll get a little bit worse. It probably won't be as accurate at first, but then as you build up that speed, you'll just get better and better. So let's see. Somebody's saying. Let's see. Okay. Did you say you're planning to do live Instagrams every day? Well, right now the lives are on YouTube. Today is the first day that I've shared the lives on Instagram as well. But I'll try to do that. I'll try to do that. I'll try to share it on Instagram. I also, there's like a software that you can get to share it on multiple places at once. So I need to look into that. I need to look into making it a little bit easier, so I don't, because right now I just have my phone over here, and then over here is the camera that I'm filming for YouTube, but it makes it a little bit trickier when you have to do multiple devices, and so I need to figure out a way to keep it simple. But yeah, I'll try to share my live streams on Instagram as well. But YouTube is a little bit better quality, and you can see a little bit more. Good afternoon from Montana, somebody says. Somebody says, use a model that helps with speed. Yeah, if you're sculpting live, from a live model, then you're gonna go faster because you're paying that model, and it's expensive. So, and every second you waste is costing you money. So if you hire a model, or if you're paying for a model session with some other people, then that is a way to speed up, because you'll be like, oh, I can't be wasting time just talking or anything. I got to be sculpting. So that is another way to speed up the process. Let's see. Even I'll be waiting for live streams. He's the best. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll try to share my live streams on Instagram as well. But they're also on YouTube, and my past ones are on YouTube as well. I'm not sleeping to see you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, get some sleep. Sleep's important. But yeah, it's fun. Beautiful sculpture. Can you do a baby sculpture? Yeah, I have done some baby sculptures, but I'll probably do another one. I have my my youngest, who's a year old. I do want to do a sculpture of him, so maybe I'll do a sculpture of him at some point. Take some references and sculpt him. Somebody says, true, Andrew, so much pressure with the model. So I ask friends. They actually love it. Yeah, having people that can model for you, and live, sculpting from a live model is just a superior experience than sculpting from photos. I work from photos all the time. Like, I work online, and I'm in a small town. There's not like a university nearby where they would have modeling sessions or art groups or anything like that. So I kind of have to just deal with photos. But if you can be at a live modeling session, it is a great experience, because there's so much more visual information even than a 3D model on a screen, and you're looking at it in space, so there's no distortion or anything. It's just a better experience. So if you can do it, I recommend trying to find a place where you can go to those live modeling sessions. Who says, Andrew, that's beautiful. Very nice. You're gifted. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's coming along. Still has a while to go, but it's coming along. I'm looking at it from above to help see the asymmetry. You can see where things are off. a little bit better when you look at it from above or from below. So that's why it is kind of nice to just be holding it by hand. And I have a little bit firmer clay so I don't mess things up as much as I'm holding it and moving it around. But that way I can look at it from above. I can, you know, look at it from the side. I can switch it and just from any angle. And that way I can get an idea of what's going on without having to move myself too much. Just kind of flip it around. So he says, so true. I love the armature. Well, thank you. Yeah, this will be hopefully a good piece. I'd like to, I was thinking that this might be cool to put in some sort of frame. Like frame as a sculpture. Let's see. Somebody says, I guess it's a difficult sculpture to balance. Yeah, this one's kind of tricky. So I can't just have it, like sometimes with things around this size, you can get away with just using clay to put the feet on a wood base or something. And you don't have to have an external support, especially if you're using a firmer clay like this. But because this sculpture is so, there's no real place to balance it. I mean, I guess maybe if I did it like that or something, but then I can't see it from all the angles, so I'd like to observe. So he says, making a mold. Am I gonna make a mold of this? Maybe, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully I'll get it to a point where I can feel that it's worth the time and effort to make a mold and cast it and sell some versions of this. That's something, yeah, that's something I need to do more of, is not just demo, but actually get it to the final stage of making a mold and casting, which can be difficult. Let's see. Somebody says, I prefer hard clay so far. I melt medium like butter. Drives me crazy. Yeah, I don't like when the clay is too soft. So I mix in a little bit of hard with the medium. But even just the hard is good. Though, if it's like room temperature, the hard is really hard. The Chavant NSP hard is like wax. So you really have to warm it up to be able to work it by hand. But if you do warm it up, if it's pretty warm, then it's totally fine to work with. And so if you have like a heat gun or something to keep things warm as you're going, then that's a good way to go about it. So it says, you're very good. Thank you, I appreciate that. Just trying my best. I'm trying my best, honey. Okay. Sulfur-free clay. Yes, this is NSP stands for non-sulfur plasticine or something like that. So this doesn't have sulfur in it. Sulfur is kind of stinky and I don't like it very much. And it doesn't play well with some mold making materials, so I recommend non-sulfur clays. But they don't put sulfur in a lot of clays now. Somebody on Instagram says, "Super, sir." Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. So he says, "I just started working with wax about a year ago. Your channels are super helpful." Well, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad that you found some value in some of the stuff that I'm trying to put out. That's the goal. You can also join the online courses if you haven't, and those are also a great resource, though I know not everybody has the resources. Sometimes, you know, if it's just a hobby, though, you know, they're not super expensive, the courses. The Figure Sculpting Fundamentals course is currently at $150. And so for an in-depth online course that took 2.5 years to develop, I think that's a pretty good price, especially if you're, you know, it just cuts time. So having that course, having a study guide just allows you to get better a little bit faster. So that's the benefit of it. But a lot of the information is there you can find on your own. And again, there's the PDFs, so the free PDFs of the figure sculpting course that has all of the free content. If you just want an assignment checklist of things to do and videos to watch to get better, then that'll be a good resource. And then with that PDF, the assignment checklist PDF, I'd like to start a private like Facebook group for those people that that want to. Maybe we would go through together and do those assignments, and that way we can kind of have a support system, which is the thing that's it's the thing that's missing with the online courses is, you know, accountability and a support system to make sure that you're doing those assignments. Somebody says, I'm a novice. Let's see. Somebody says, yeah, I'm using Progo 2. It's great. Yeah. Love creatures. Let's see. Did somebody say something over on Instagram? I thought I might have missed something. No, I don't think I did. Going to grab a sculpting tool for some of these places, these inside areas where I'm putting clay can be a little bit tricky to get to when you're just working by hand. So a tool to press things in can be helpful. But I don't want to use the tool too much. I'm trying to mostly go by hand because tools will really slow you down. That's their purpose, is kind of to slow things down and be a little bit more careful with how you're moving things around. Yeah, some places like here, this calf that's kind of squished up against the leg. This inside part is kind of hard to reach. It says, that's great, Andrew, talking about the courses. Somebody's asking if I can shout out their channel. If you're watching live on YouTube or in the comments, then you can see that channel. But I don't shout out channels that I'm not familiar with, so forgive me for that. But yeah, I just if I haven't seen anything from your channel, or if I'm not familiar with you, then I can't directly shout it out. But there's no harm in asking. Can AI replace handmade artistry and creativity? Your views on it? Well, so AI, AI I think is misunderstood. It's basically just a compiler of like the average on any topic, and that goes with visual information too. So it's really a, it generates the average when you kind of put all of the inputs of all of the art everywhere in the world, and then it kind of spits out an average based on words that are associated with those visual cues, and it gets better as its programs become more expansive and stuff. But it's not the same process. It's not the same creative process as people, and I think you're gonna have to mark. I definitely think that it should be required that AI art be mentioned, that AI was used in the production of this art. That's kind of difficult because it's become so ubiquitous, and sometimes it is hard. It's getting hard to tell, especially with things like photography. I think there was some AI photography that has even won some competitions and things like that. But I think people will always value, when it comes to art, I think people will always value a work of art that they can see required more effort, time and effort, as opposed to one that was, spit out by an algorithm. And so I think that will just naturally kind of be the case, but that doesn't mean that AI won't be a factor. Like, it will be a factor. And I've even, I've used AI tools for writing scripts and things like that for my YouTube videos because it's so convenient and it gets you a rough outline. But then I also know what I'm talking about, and so where it says things that aren't accurate or that aren't helpful or that aren't the way that I would say it, then I as a conscious agent, I can have that as a starting off point and then choose to go in any direction. So AI, it's a tool like any other tool, and some people say, oh, we're not, the ancient masters, they didn't have as many tools, so their work is more impressive, and I think in a way that's true. But that doesn't mean that they wouldn't have used all of the tools at their disposal. Like if there was a tool, if there were maybe power tools or whatever, tractors or whatever it was, those artists would have probably used whatever tools they had available. So just because you're using a new tool doesn't necessarily make you less of an artist. But if the tool is doing everything, then I think that is where it's more of a crutch, or more of a, you know, it's not as authentic as a work of art that was created by somebody intentionally, a human behind it, an individual human. Because AI, you know, there's humans behind AI, because AI is just borrowing from everything that we've, you know, put up on the internet, everything that we've already, all the information we've already created. It's just compiling that and spitting out a new version, a new variant on the information that we've already provided to it. So it's still, you know, it's using human input, but I'm talking about an individual individual person. Somebody says, I fear not the robot. Yeah, I'd say, well, you can't live in fear, whatever you're doing. Don't live in fear. Just do things that you find worthwhile and valuable, and figure out a way to make it work. Andrew, your work has been an incredible source of inspiration. Watching your sculpt with such precision and creativity. Thank you for sharing your talent with the world. Well, thank you. That's a very nice thing to say, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And that's, you know, that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to share. I'd like to teach more people how to sculpt. And if, you know, if I can, I'd like to teach. I'd like to be the biggest teacher, sculpture teacher in the world. I'd like to teach more people to sculpt than any other teacher, and I might be able to do that if I'm able to continue to put out content and reach people. And I also need to put the information that I put in books, because that's a more timeless way of sharing information. But I really appreciate that. Hey, I love your content from France. Quick question, what % of the self-drying clay and normal clay do you like to work with? Thanks for your teaching work. I don't use self-drying clay, so I don't use like air dry clay very much, though maybe I'll test it out in some future videos. This is non-dry modeling clay that's oil and wax based, and I prefer that because it's a it's good for reusing, so it's good for practicing and reusing and mold making. So that's why I use this particular type of clay. But really, you know, the type of clay doesn't matter as much as your skill as a sculptor. I'd like to get a kiln so that I can fire some ceramic sculptures, so that I can actually do ceramic sculpting. Oh, that's my camera over on YouTube, so we gotta end the live stream there because it's run out of battery. Thank you guys, and I'll see you again hopefully in another video.